He just went live. It didn't even ask me. What if I was like having a hot mic moment, right? Do we have no production team here? There's no one to like organize anything for me? There's no one there. There's no one there because we have no production team. Okay? I'm on my own. It requires money. It requires a channel that's profitable and that generates revenue to have a production team. It's hot. So if I'm pissed off today, I will grant you that it could be because it's hot. Because we've had a heat streak down here in the central plateaus of Mexico. We're like 7,000 feet, but it's been in the 90s, like dry, constant heat every day. People are sick of it. Normally it's cooling off by this time. We're not talking super humid heat like they get on the coast. I feel sorry for those people right now. We're talking more like Arizona, like Las Vegas heat. And sometimes you're just like, whew, had enough of that. So good evening. No, it's not evening yet. It is 6 down here. Lee, Fitzcam, Social. Good to see you guys in there in the live stream. I just kind of am randomly going live. I know it's not planned. I didn't publish it. But this is what we do on the Gavin Symes Show. 95 and humid. Yeah, I can believe like Orlando's humid areas. That's what kills me. Because I was born in the north and we had that dry heat in the summer. So actually it's not bothering me that much, except for they don't have air conditioning in this part of the country. Not that you can't buy an air conditioner, but electricity's high here. And normally the climate's perfect. Fitz, you've been down here. You visited with me. And like it's just a very mild, even climate. This year, there's always like a couple months where it gets really hot and dry. And it's basically in the springtime is the hotter time here. Because in the summer, the rain starts to come in and it starts to cool things off. So down here, the springtime is more the summer heat. But most of the year, it's just very calm. We don't get a crazy winter. We don't get a crazy summer. But this year, it's been pretty hot. We're probably running in the mid-90s here. But when you're just running a dumb little fan, in fact, if it's a little noisier today, it's because I'm like, no, I'm not turning that fan off because it's hot. And I haven't, and it's at night that kills you. It gets comfortable at night, right? Because we're kind of high desert. But the houses still hold the heat and stuff. And if you don't have a good breeze, if the air is still like, I didn't grow up with air conditioning in Washington. Like my dad wasn't going to put air conditioning in. We ran our house on generators and solar panels. So I'm used to that. I'm not like a super wimp, right? I got spoiled a little bit in the States. It's just I don't like trying to sleep when I'm too hot. That does annoy me, and I can't sleep well. All right. So thanks, Polo, Ace, Edwin, Liberty Cause. Good to see you guys in there. How many do we got? 34. We had 34. That's how many. Out of 200,000, that's how the algorithm works. All right, we're just going to talk. I'll get to the main topic in a minute, like always. You guys know I do this. I'm going to tell you what pisses me off about people in a minute. We're going to look at that. I just actually recorded another video outside about just kind of some practical Mexico stuff for those of you who might think about coming down here sometime, dealing with vehicles, vehicle repair and insurance down here. So I just kind of randomly recorded a video. It's like 20 minutes. It's probably stupid because, I mean, I know that most of the videos don't get any views, but I like talking to you guys. Like, we're like family, right? I'm trying to relax, okay? I have water. Just drink a lot of water, like a lot of freaking water when you're in this situation. And when there's no AC and when you're out in the heat filming, it's good. So I'm not going to apologize for drinking water this entire time. Anyways. We're plugging away. And yeah, the north is a little cold. Like Idaho, like the summers were great, but the winters and the snow, like we don't have that down here in Mexico. I haven't seen a bit of snow. There's places, if you go to the mountains in Durango, over by the mountains near Mexico City, the volcanoes, things like that. There's areas that get some snow. But I don't think I've ever seen a snowflake since I moved here. And while I like taking photos now and then in the snow, and I like seeing the kids play in the snow now and then, I don't actually miss the snow. Does anyone actually miss the snow? I've skied before. It was fun. And there are a couple ski resorts in Mexico. There are places you can go to find snow. But I haven't been doing as much traveling. The money hasn't been so great the past couple years with all the shenanigans. I've been trying to kind of invest in my own projects down here so I have Mexican peso income, as well as some of my US dollar stuff with my photography online courses and stuff that I do. Because right now the dollar sucks, the Mexican peso. So to buy a peso right now is a lot more expensive. You only get about 17 pesos for a dollar. So which means the Mexican peso for Mexico is doing good. That means it's up. The dollar has sunk this year, and it doesn't have much value. I mean, it still has value, obviously. But this is the problem with all these fiat currencies. They're always going to be like this because it's all political manipulation. They're not real money. They're fake money. Another video. All right, another video. Fibonacci sequence. Do you have any advice for people who would like to start a business in Mexico? How much are security fees? I work with businesses here in Mexico, startups and stuff, and do marketing. I'm in charge of consulting, customer service, but there's no security fees. Now, I'm assuming you're talking about extortion, Chicago mob style extortion. This happens in certain areas, and certainly you hear about stories where things get bad, but usually I feel like where it gets rough, like you get into narco stuff, is in rougher states where you're dealing with large agriculture operations and stuff like that. But I don't hear, lots of stores have private security, but that's just more like mall cops, right? But the mall cops are actually bigger assholes here because there's a lot, it's a lot harder to go to jail down here. I've actually had mall cops hit me and try to beat me up and try to kick me in the nuts just for filming. I actually been meaning to do a video because I have a video for most of that. The camera fell out of my hand and went off for part of it, but I clearly have on the camera them hitting me and the phone flying up into the air. And I wasn't even trying to do active. This is what pisses me off down here. Generally, people are very nice, but because I'm an outsider, I do stand out. And because I'm not a simpering slave, I don't bow down. And I know my rights. And if somebody tells me, oh, you have to do this, you know what? I'm going to get to this in the this pisses me off about people section of this video. And we'll come back to this. Why is the X100V going for $2,100? It is a phenomenal camera. This is something we should talk about on my other ones. No, I was saying, I've explained to people, because I've been figuring out what to do with the security guards that beat me up at a grocery store. And when I say beat me up, I mean they hit me, but I'm fast, relatively, and I don't just stand there and get beat up. So I didn't actually let them hurt me. They got a couple kicks in, and I didn't really, there was 4 of them, and I've never been, it's not that I'm a weak guy, but I try to focus on documenting and a narrative and staying calm as much as possible. I think it's better for the soul. So I certainly could have hit back, but I probably just would have gotten a scuffle and ended up with guys on top of me. And the thing is, when you're the outsider, this just makes it even harder. Because if you're with people down here, a lot of them, there's certainly activists down here that are great and amazing, but they have a much more calm approach. And it's cost me a lot to try and adapt to that approach because we're kind of in your face in the US, right? Even if we're mad at in the convenience store, people yell and they shout and they swear, even though it's never really been my style. And by US standards, I was a calm activist, right? But down here, I come across as very aggressive when I get riled up. I'll talk about that today. I've got today's video and another video because an incident just happened this weekend that I'll tell you about. But yeah, why is the X100V going for 20? I don't know. This 2100 is too much for this. I paid the going rate of $1,400 or so for this 2 years ago. I think it's because it's it's a really good camera. It's the best. It's a very Leica style camera for a lot cheaper. You can't change the lenses, but for travel and street photography, this thing is the best camera I've ever owned. So I use, despite having all these other ones that I'll use for portraits or other projects, this is the camera far and away that's with me the most. I've got a Leica style hood on it to protect the lens. I can just toss it in the cup holder. It's sturdy, it's meaty. This is a phenomenal camera. But is it worth $2,100? I would probably wait till it comes down to price because I think you're just being price gouged. I am on the right channel. People are asking photo questions. I'd make sure I started the stream on my, this is Morris Syme Studio channel's question. I do have a black Pro Mist on the camera right here. I think it's a 1/8, just to soften me up and kind of accent my beauty features a little bit. I don't use them a lot, but occasionally I'll throw one on there because they are kind of a nice effect. Okay, let's not get too off into the photo stuff. I know I'm random. Somebody in the chat, because we now have 50 people, they're like, what is this? what kind of a show is this where this guy reads a comment and he goes off in this direction, he goes off in that direction? This is the opening of the Gavin Symes Show. I promise when I get to the main topic of what about people pisses me off, in that 15-minute segment, we will be focused and I won't even respond to comments, okay? So there's focus mode. I know how to switch. It's like shifting gears in my Cupra. You're going from like first to fifth. You're kind of, and you're grinding away. And then you got, when you got to know when to change the mode and go. That's where it's at. And when you're ready, you just have to do it. Let's see here. This thing is popping up and it says now would be a good time to insert ads, but I'm not going to bother to insert an ad for 50 people. I'll get like 2 pennies. So why? Like if you guys want to support the channel, because this channel doesn't make any money on ads, almost every video I do, because we talk about real issues of the world, gets demonetized at this point. So I don't, unless you back the channel, which you can do in the link in the comments, in the description, or my Patreons. I still do a few of those. I don't promote Patreon that much. There's a few of you that still support me that way. There's a few that support me as a monthly channel backer right here. And sometimes you send super chats. But this is the problem. This is why I can't do this full time, because money has sucked the past couple of years. I don't even have a PlayStation. You know what? That's what pisses me off about this world. That's not what pisses me off about people. That's what pisses me off about this whole past 3 years of like the virus and the whole sham that wrecked economies and made our revenues less and made the rich richer and the middle class more poor. I sold my PlayStation 4 a couple months ago. I'm like, oh, I'm going to sell the PS4 so I can like hang with bros and play on the PS5. It's about time. There's getting to be some cool new games I want to. So I sold it, right? I got like $250, $300 for it. Like $250, I think, for my PS4. It was a PS4 Pro. And I was like, cool, I got half the money. I got half of what I need for a PS5. So I'm going to set this aside. So I literally went and sold, like, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to take a little more money and buy a PS5. I'm an efficient guy, right? I'm not going to go into debt or anything. I got enough of that. And so I sold it, and then I needed the money that week. I needed the pesos, and so I ended up using those. And now I have neither a PS4 or a PS5. I just have games. So yeah, welcome to 2023. I think this is kind of what we all deal with. It's not like in the 50s where everybody had a nice house that was paid off and a car. We pretend that technology and innovation has advanced us, and actually we've regressed as societies across the world. The rich and the politicians and the corrupt have gotten more and more power accumulated to themselves, and the middle class, the people actually doing the work, have been pushed more and more into the poor class. So anyways, yes, I appreciate it, and we'll keep going. I'm not going to take on every question here because I don't want to get too. In fact, we should start the main topic because I want to talk a little bit and yeah, I mean, everybody here down here with me is doing pretty good on their Spanish. I mean, I can speak Spanish pretty much in pretty much any context now. I don't know if I would say I was fluent. Some people might say I was fluent, but I'm certainly conversational. And I don't really struggle to switch gears. Like if I'm talking in English y luego estoy como, mejor hablar en español con ellos por estar más claro. Es que no me trabajo mucho en eso. Puedo cambiar a inglés, puedo cambiar a español, and it kind of rolls. But it's taken me like 5 years to do that. And if you're not as outgoing as me, like I'm on the streets, I'm dealing with people, I'm arguing with people, I'm out buying things, I'm working in businesses, right? So if you put me in a restaurant and say, hey, work the floor, I'll do it. My cultural mannerisms and stuff might not be right, but I'll be able to take the orders and do the work and all that kind of stuff. So I'm plugging away and doing okay with that. How am I, Robert? I'm okay, to be honest. How am I? I'm tired. It's hot. Business has sucked the past few years, and I'm struggling a bit with that. The corruption of the world has got me down. People like Jeff Winehouse are still in prison. I feel like I'm working all the time and never really get to breathe. I'm just trying to take care of my people and trying to grow businesses and stuff like that. But I feel like the corrupt are always waiting around the corner trying to screw us over in every possible way, especially those of us that are independent thinking. So that's how I am. Do you have a while? No, I'll leave it at that. but I still feel blessed despite all that. Yeah, I could get a Steam Deck, but I have a computer. I mean, my streaming computer is reasonably powerful because I do my video editing and stuff on it. I could play games on that. The problem is I enjoy a console because if I'm in game mode, I don't get a lot of time to do this. I don't play like a ton of games. I play like the best of the best, like Red Dead Redemption kind of thing, Horizon Zero Dawn, that kind of stuff. And I might get an hour here and there to do it. So it's not like I'm a gamer per se. I'm too busy surviving and working and trying to make content. So when I go to play a game, I want to sit back with a controller in my hand and look at it on the TV. And I know you could connect a Stream Deck, you could connect a computer, but the experience is different. I'm going to take a nap now. We take a siesta in the middle of the stream in Mexico. It's how we roll. There's 50 of you here. We're going to start it's not like the old days, right? What did I say at the start of the stream? I have like 220,000 subscribers, and there's 50 of you here. Do you know how many people I would have had 6-7 years ago? Notice how the algorithms have changed. I don't think it's because I suck more. I'm actually a better presenter with better equipment than I've ever been. Maybe I'm not in the middle of quite as exciting things all the time, right? Like the Oregon Refuge, when they were trying to screw over Ammon Bundy down there and we were live streaming and we had 60,000 people live stream. That's a different thing. I'm talking about a normal live stream in the past. 6-7 years ago, if I would just go live on my cell phone, it looked like crap. I'd have 300-400 people just like that. So what's changed is the algorithm. They're making sure you see the stuff that's just going to numb you, right? Not that there's no good content, but they're favoring things that will get you watch time, they can serve you ads on, and ultimately they will just keep you on the site, not things that get you thinking. That's how the algorithms work. The algorithm controls your life now. So it's interesting, like the amount of subscribers you had. I was looking at a channel the other day that had fallen off. I think it was a YouTuber that had passed away, but they carried on the channel. But obviously didn't have the charisma, and people weren't responding in the same way as well. So obviously your content has to be good. I understand that, or your views will go down. But it had like 10 million subscribers, and their videos were getting like 20,000 views. Like in the past, when you subscribed to something, it meant it was, hey, you're telling Facebook, YouTube, etc., I want to see stuff from these people. And if you get tired of seeing stuff from those people, you unsubscribe from them. But no, you don't get to do that anymore. It doesn't matter what you subscribe to. Subscribing, for the most part, doesn't change much on what you're shown on YouTube, on Facebook. Liking a page, subscribing, following someone on Instagram. They're going to show you what their algorithm wants you to see, and that can change at any moment. Let that sink in. That changes with their whims of whatever the government propaganda is today, what the current virus is, what the current political trend is, whether you should believe that guy that's entering the women's swim competition is a woman. Right? Those are the things they're going to decide. And what scares me even more is these algorithms are doing this to kids, right? Like I try to watch what my kids are consuming, but these TikToks and these short videos, these algorithms literally, I kid you not. Okay, let me show you something. We're going to start. Then I'm starting. Let's go to this photo. Bear with me. I'm working on this. I took a screenshot because I was telling Sandra about this the other day. All right, hang on. you can see I didn't do any show prep. I just like kind of felt tired and like I was sick of crap. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go live. See what happens? Now you know what happens when you go live without actually prepping is you get an experience like this. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on. Where did it go? I had a screenshot I was going to show you guys. Here it is. Hang on. Let me dump this to the computer. That's an easy enough thing now. Our technology has improved, which isn't to say that it's made the world better, but it has improved. But I can just transfer this from the phone to the desktop. And then I can show you easier. Accept files. Now, where does it put the files? This comes back to my organization. Try some comedy for, yeah, I could be like that guy, like that Jay. Who's that guy that's pretty funny? That's the dumbest question ever, okay? No, he's that. Oh, I can't even remember. I see his videos. No, that's the thing. If you don't hide things in comedy, people don't listen. And that is a valid way to do a channel, but it's never really been, I try to be funny sometimes, but it's never really been the way I do it. Not that it's bad to be a comedian with a message. I think that's valid. Although I don't know, I feel like people kind of zone out and they just kind of laugh it off. And so I don't know if it changes it. No, it's the younger guy that did a lot of like sketches on YouTube and Facebook. And now he's gotten a lot more vocal about his political beliefs and the government, how dumb the government is and all of this kind of stuff. And he's always making fun of like the men entering women's sports and dressing himself up, with like a swimsuit and a swim cap. And like he's out there. I forget his name right now. Anyways, we're getting distracted here. Okay, we're getting distracted. Let's go to hold on. I'm really trying here, guys. I'm really trying. I will get this. It's pre-show still, all right? There are no standards. There are no standards for production and pre-show. Here it is right here. I was going out and we were on the road and no, that's not it. But, okay. I was doing selfies in the bathroom earlier. You guys ever do that? The phones have gotten pretty amazing. And sometimes when you get out of the shower and you have a window, like there's no better light. Like you feel good, you feel clean, you're combing your hair or not, and the light's coming in the window and you're like, you ever pick up your phone and you're just kind of like, whoa, hello, right? Turn the light. I'm obsessed with light and shadow. That's my job. So it's JP Sears. Yes, guys, that's the guy I was thinking of. I watch his videos sometimes. And I think he does do a pretty good job of like, but he's getting to the point now where he's actually getting very opinionated and political. So they're going to start cutting him off. Back in the day, he was just a comedian that kind of had subtle nuances. His nuances aren't subtle anymore. I've noticed over the years, JP Sears' videos getting more and more to the point, like mine. Like funnier, because he's actually funny, but like right there. And you know they're going to start coming for him. Okay? Anyways, where was I? Let me just... I was driving down the road. We were talking about the algorithm. I'm going to get us back on track. I can do this. I do know how to do this. I know how to get us off track. I've been to public speaking classes. I know how to get us off track really fast and just read a comment and go off on a tangent. And I know how to get us on track. So we're talking about the algorithm and how it's controlling everything we see. And I've been thinking lately numerous times. You guys tell me. Actually wanted to ask you this. This isn't the main show, but I want to ask you in the pre-show here and tell me this, because this has kind of been pissing me off. This isn't what pisses me off about people today, but it's kind of what pisses me off about these algorithms and how much they're actually controlling us. Because a lot of times, have you ever been thinking about something or talking about something like in the car? And then a few hours later, something directly related to that shows up on your phone. And I don't mean you searched for something on Facebook, on Google, on whatever. I recognize that if you search on Google, they're logging that information. They're going to show you ads and related to it. It's like, yeah, it's a little creepy, but I get that. I'm talking about a completely different level that's up here where you can't see my hands because my camera's not in a wide angle mode. Where the other day, I was in the car and I was talking to Sandra in the car. And she made some comment, hey, remember that old meme where there was like the giant inflated tiger and he was chasing the giant inflated gazelle? It was like a cartoon, and then they kind of fell and they were bouncing. Like it was like one of those early internet before YouTube GIFs, right? Remember that? It's still around, of course. But we were talking just about that and kind of laughing about it in some context that I don't even remember. Right? Maybe it was like, that's how I feel today, is those guys. I kid you not, the next morning, I opened Instagram, and an Instagram story with that meme, this one, right here. This, okay? I'm sure you've probably seen this. Like the tiger's chasing the gazelle, and they both trip, and all the animals in this cartoon are like big inflated balloons, right? But here's the thing. I always thought that was kind of a funny little video. But I hadn't seen that in years, and I wasn't looking for it, right? It's not like it's that common, and we're talking about it in the car, and the next day this pops up on my Instagram feed, right? That's crazy. Now, if it was just one time, I would be like, okay, it's coincidence. But do you know how many times I swear, like, it's almost like you can't prove it. You don't want to admit it because you sound crazy. Guys, I will think things sometimes. And maybe it's just because I'm always online, right? Maybe it's just like there's some kind of internet rule for this where, if you're online enough, you see things. But sometimes I'll see something, I'll be like, I just thought about that 3 hours ago. I didn't say it out loud. I didn't look for it. I didn't search for it, and I haven't searched for it. And it's showing up, the thing that's somehow related to what I was thinking a few hours before. Now, I don't know how far the algorithm goes because I don't know of any technology that's that far, but I just want you guys to think about this, and then we're going to start the main show. But I just wanted to throw that out there because it's been on my head, and I want to leave you with a thought on that. Tell me in the comments or here in the chat what you think. But today I want to talk about actually something else, and that something else is about you guys. Okay, it's not exactly about you guys. It's about kind of humanity and people in general. And this is what pisses me off about people. And is that we give in so easy, just for a treat, for a circus, for a little bit of money. We give in so easy. And I see this in protests. I see it, I've seen it in the Patriot movement that was actually just, we're better than people from the South movement and we want our politicians to win so we can be fascists in the way we like. I see it with Latinos. I see it at the water park. Okay, I went to a water park the other day, and I think I'm going to do a whole video on this. So I'm not going to show you the video from this because I think I will do a video and kind of expose these scumbags. All right. I went, and there's a lot of water parks down here in Mexico that you can go to, and a lot of them are, especially in this area, in the Central Plateaus, there's these thermal springs, and so there's these entire water parks, like the Grutas of Talantongo, that get a lot of people, right? And they're places like this, right? And they're just these really cool, like the water's warm, so you can go to these places in December. This one was called El Geyser, and it's open 24 hours a day. The employees there were complete a-holes that were running the front of that place. So I went in there, and you know this thing, like everybody wants to search your bags. I'm so freaking sick of everybody wanting to search your bags, right? But you know what I'm sick of? You know what pisses me off about people? Is they let everyone search their bags. That's what I'm tired of. Why the bleep are you, well, if I have nothing to hide, right? And they tried to give me this garbage, right? Like, oh, well, it's suspicious that you didn't want us to look. I'm like, screw you. I didn't talk this way. I'll show this when I actually put this video out. I actually kept my calm and did the whole like try to adapt to the culture, speak very politely. Oh, thank you. You're very nice kind of thing, because that's how activists do it down here. That's what the culture is familiar. And I think it's important to adapt to the culture you're in, because they have all their history and they're not just going to change and be comfortable with your culture. Okay? So I didn't lose it. I had a lanyard on the camera and I just put it here. If these kind of thugs, the private security thugs, do kind of fly off the handle when you start recording. The cops are used to being recorded here. They might try and push you around just like in the US. But if you're in these private places, they'll really try and get you to turn that camera off. So I'm good at using cameras. There's a risk when you're kind of doing covert because you could accidentally hit the button, especially when I don't have a shirt on, right? So I was in a shirtless state because I was at this water park. So I was looking more or less like a Gway, right? I was a dude. That's how I looked. I was looking like this dude, more or less. All right? All right, he's cool, right? Right? I just like the light. It's the light that's doing it for me. Anyways, back to the story. And I was getting pissed because I had people, I was with a group, I had people inside. We had entered, and I didn't read their stupid thing of signs, right? With bags and towels to go into this water park, this thermal spring water park. And I went back out for another bag, and I came in and they're like, hey, come here, we have to search your bag. And I'm like, what? No, you're not searching my bag. And I kept walking and they started freaking out. So I'm like, okay, whoa. These guys are gonna lose it. Like I could feel the mood. I was a guy, I wasn't like had a bunch of family with me. The rest of the group was up here. I had just gone back to the car for something. I was alone. I'm like, they're gonna try and screw with me. I stand out. So I said, and no cops, right? These are just asshole. In English, I will say it like it is, right? I will speak to our culture in English. I didn't say these words to them because that's not the culture here, even though they were. And like I said, I had the camera here. I left it recording front and back at the same time with the director's mode that's on the Samsungs. So I had that. If I can't do that, if I don't have an excuse to do that, I'll at least turn the camera on, record it, and stick it in my pocket. And that usually works really well. You're only getting audio, but you can grab it and pull it out really fast, and the whole time leading up to it, you have audio. It's a very good technique if you don't want to be an activist. Because as soon as you point the camera like this, you're an activist, right? If you're in a situation, if somebody's aggressive. If the camera is like this, you can kind of play it on, hey, yeah, whatever. Let's talk about this, right? And they don't register. People aren't paying that much attention. You should assume you're always being recorded, but most people don't. I said, look, I'm from the north. We don't just let people search our bags. A lot of people still do, but like in my world, we don't. And I hope you guys in generally don't. I don't let people look at my things. It's not that I'm doing anything wrong. I'm not trying to sneak alcohol in. Oh, but you might be, and they're like, here's the kicker. I said, fine. I'll put the bag back in the car. I don't want to fight about it. I'm just going to put my bag back in the car. I went and I put the bag back in the car, and I came back and they said, you can't come in. We're not letting you back in. I was like, what? I paid, right? Here's where I paid. I've done nothing wrong. You can't say that. Yeah, you can't come back in. So they get a burly guy, covers his face up to block the entrance. So I can't go back into the park. My group's in there. My things are in there. They're saying you can't come back in. I was really stressing out because I'm trying not to make a scene, right? Because as I've told you before, as a northern activist, when I'm out with Mexican people who don't think like activists, it freaks them out a little bit when I start going into activist mode. Because not only are they not activists and they don't think that way, so you know there's that first barrier, but also the way that I'd be activist tends to be northern style, and it comes off as so aggressive and it scares them sometimes. So if I'm with a group of people, even in the States, if I'm out with a group of people, I don't want to make it all about the activism and video. It's just really hard for me to shut up sometimes. And then I stand up. But I was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to make this about ego. We have to put ego aside as activists. So I'm gonna do it their way. I'm gonna do the calm, but I was pissed. It took me about 45 minutes to get back in. I went and talked to this person. I made a scene, but not make a scene like yelling. I'm like, very friendly. Hey, I don't know what's going on. This makes no sense. So finally they get a supervisor down there and he's pointing at this sign of these rules. And he's trying to tell me, obviously I'm a gringo. He's like, oh, well, this rule says that if you do this and you reject us reviewing, blah, 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 we won't let you back in. And he's hoping, I guess, that I'm dumb. And I'm like, which rule? That one there. I said, that rule does not say that. And he's like, oh, well, that one there. I said, that rule has nothing to do with that. That rule's talking about people being drunk and alcohol. I don't have any alcohol. I'm not drunk and I haven't been drinking it. Well, you might have alcohol in that bag in your car, they said. I mean, at this point, they were just like pulling it out of their asses. They were just pissed because I didn't submit and they wanted to prove a point. At this point, so I started getting calmer, right? But I also started showing that I knew the law. And eventually, they let me back in. It took me about 45 minutes. Obviously, I will be showing the world what a-holes they were. Because what if I had not played the game, right? You cannot treat people that way. You can have a private business and you can say, no, you can't come in. But when someone pays you and you let them in and they've violated no one's rights, they've broken nothing, you cannot simply tell people, especially when they have other people inside and their belongings are inside, you can't be like, oh, we're not letting you in. You can't just make up crap. Now, private security does this more in Mexico than they do in the States. I'm sure you've experienced like this and crap like this in the States. But in the States, if a private security guard hits you in the mall, you are suing them and you are getting money. They're probably going to write you a check before you even find a lawyer so that they don't have to deal with it because they know. Whereas in Mexico, yes, you can sue people, but the levels for proving damages and stuff like that are higher. And the system, while technically there's lots of consumer protection laws, sometimes wading through the process can be a hassle. But it is in the States too. I can't tell how many times I've had incidents with cops or friends had incidents with cops and they're like, oh, you're going to get a paycheck, right? You're going to sue them. Most of the time, those suits don't work in the US, even when the cops beat up and kill people. Jeff Winehouse, they tried to murder and he's still sitting in prison, guys. So let's not pretend like it all works out in the US either. Now, what I want to... Did I end the stream? Where's my stream? You gotta be kidding me right now. What on earth is going on? Am I still streaming? I lost my chat. Dangnabbit, this is supposed to be main show. Store. Live streaming. Oh wait, we're still there. You guys still hear me? No, it says connect. I think I went off. I think we're back. Oh, okay, I just lost the browser, I guess. But it looks like it kept the stream going because it's going direct to YouTube. Now I gotta edit this later, which sucks. But, all right, getting us back on topic. So I'll do a video about this story because there's more to it and I want to show you their mannerisms, but also I want to show how I responded. And I think I responded well, even though I was pissed and I wanted to tell them off and I didn't because I'm trying to adapt and like deal with things in a way that the people I'm dealing with will understand better, right? Here you insult people, but you have to insult people in a way that can't directly be pointed at and said you insult people. The Spanish language, the culture, like it has its own complexities. And so ultimately I didn't get beat up. I got my stuff back. You know, I finished the afternoon and left. And of course, I will never go back and support this park. And I will make sure as many people as possible, they will be losing money because of how they treated me. And so it's one of those, I didn't say like, oh, I'm a YouTuber, you can't do this to me. I just quietly recorded everything. I'm like, you know what? You a-holes. This is how you treat people. Because if they're treating me like that, there's so much racism against their own people down here, right? I should call it classism. It's basically the same, where if you look wealthy, they'll treat you well, but if you're like a poor family, they'll screw you over with this kind of stuff. And in my case, it's because I stand up for myself. And sure, I do stand out because I'm the gringo and I stand up for myself. But I won't sit idly by and tolerate this kind of crap. Not from a private business, not from a police officer, not from government, not from anybody. You don't treat people like that. You cannot just have employees making up crap and telling people, oh no, we're not going to let you do that. Oh no, we're taking this from you. Oh no, you can't enter. No, you can't have your stuff. No, you can't be with your friends. We have to stop letting this. And I'm so tired. This is what pisses me off about people. It's the same thing we see with like the Reddit protest. I've talked about the Reddit protest last week. And I was watching a Louis Rasmussen video on this earlier, and he's pissed off too. He's like, they all just caved, right? They said, Reddit screwing us over. We're going to protest for 48 hours or for a week, and we're going to shut down our Reddits. As soon as Reddit, these are the moderators on these Reddits are volunteers. They're known to be little tyrants themselves, a lot of them, but they're volunteers. They do all the heavy lifting. Reddit isn't like Facebook. They're not paying people to moderate. They have all these volunteer moderators, and these little moderators feel like powerful because a lot of the moderators on Reddit moderate like 100 big Reddits with millions of people. So they're like these basement dweller types. Not all, but a lot of them. They're notorious for this. You can find all kinds of videos about this. And they like feeling powerful. And so they did a protest for like a few days. And then Reddit said, look, we're going to start taking away your admins. And these are your communities, right? Created and moderated by but we're going to pull you from moderator, and we're just going to give the community to other moderators if you don't start opening these Reddits and take them out of private mode, right? They caved. People are constantly caving. And so every time you go somewhere and they're like, oh, we need to search your bag. Screw you. No, you don't. That's my stuff. You know what? I'm like, oh, really? Let me see your bag. Let's go look at your car, right? Let me see your cell phone. Who have you been talking to? Oh, look at this number. Let's go talk to your wife. Does she know who this is? And there's this mindset of like, well, it's suspicious that you won't let us review it. I don't care what you think is suspicious. And this is what's pissing me off, is this constant level of compliance, right? In everything. I understand, and I've said for years, like you can't fight every battle all the time. And I know like sometimes it's frustrating for me, and I know sometimes it's frustrating for people with me, because you go out and like, oh, we're going to go out for a group picnic. We're going to go out to the museum. We're going to go out to the water park, the balneario. But then, oh, we're with Gavin. And inevitably, it's not like I go out and I'm like, I'm going to go out and do activism at the water park. No, it's like, oh, I'm going to take a photo. Oh, look at that. And inevitably, someone tries to harass me, or I see someone else getting harassed, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, porque se enoja tu mamá. And I'll step in, right? And then it's on. And once I switch to activist mode, I stand up for myself and for other people, which of course then kind of makes a fiasco and a stress of the trip. And so I'm like, it's a balance, right? Any of you who are activists and actually like auditors, activists, like going, it's hard sometimes because you don't want to be ruining everyone's day. Like sometimes people want to go out without stress and adrenaline and just enjoy the day. And I get that. And I've been trying to get that more and more and understand that and be adaptable and be quick. I've always tried to like analyze, how am I doing this? So here's the thing though. No one's fighting. What do you lose? I understand if you say like you had a big trip plan and somebody's harassing you like, oh, we have to do this. So I didn't say like if I went to the water park alone and they're like, oh, we're going to search your bag. No, you're not. Yeah, you're not entering unless we search your bag. You have to let us. If I'm alone, I'll be like, screw you, give me my money back. Or I'm calling the cops, right? And I'm going to put my foot down. But if I have a bunch of friends or kids with me and they're all excited to be there, right? And I've driven an hour, I'm just putting out scenarios. I'm going to feel bad saying like, oh, screw this, no one's going. We're not having any fun today, right? Because then I'm ruining it for them and they don't get that. They're smart, but that sucks. So in that case, I might say, you know what? No, that's not okay. You're not searching my bag. I'll just put it back in the car. Now, do I like to cave? It's not caving exactly because I won't let them see my things, but I should be like, screw you, give me my money back. But instead, I might say in that case, no, we're not doing that. We'll just bring our stuff in with our hands, okay? But I'll never come back. I'm never supporting them again. I can't believe how dumb businesses are here, there, everywhere. Like you think, I'm so tired of businesses because they're popular, because they're big, like Amazon, shutting down someone's entire smart home system because a Ring doorbell decided they were racist. Have you guys seen that story? I won't try and get too into that, but literally, this is why you don't put a smart house in, right? Your house should never be reliant on a-holes like Amazon. So you see these companies, you see Facebook, but we're getting to the point where if you don't meet up with the social credits, even though it's not officially a social credit system, you'll just be shut down. Oh, no more Amazon for you. No more TV for you. No more Facebook for you. You can no longer communicate with your friends. And you look at these social medias, they shouldn't have the power to do that, you guys. These social media platforms like Reddit, like Facebook, like Twitter, they exist solely from our content, from our minds, and from the things we produce. They produce nothing of content. They produce a back end, and I understand that has value and that there can be some kind of rules as a private company, but you can't just arbitrarily treat people like crap. It's not okay. I don't care if you're a private company. And I'm so tired of even when they know our rights, right? Let's come over here and talk about just this incident, right? The fact that people cave all the time to go. I remember one time I went to that huge Ferris wheel in Vegas. And they're like, we're going to search the lady's purse. I said, no, you're not. You're not searching my wife's purse. You're not touching her things. I'm not having that. Oh, we're not letting you. And I made a scene right there in the middle. I don't know if I've ever released this video. I made a scene in the middle of this stupid entry hall where you paid to go on that giant Vegas Ferris wheel. I had my video camera on. I was telling people on the street, stop complying with this, you guys. And of course, they were pissed at me. Oh, he's just making a scene. It's not a big deal. It's for security. Answer me this. In the past 30 years, 20, 30 years, ever since 9/11 and beyond, right? All over the world, security, it's to protect us. There's shootings, right? We could get into the fact that all these shootings always have suspicious things. They always have people that are on medications. That's a different conversation. But we say, oh, the security is just bad. The violence is bad. Ban guns. Oh, now nobody has guns. Did the violence get better in the countries that did that? You don't see people running around with guns in Mexico anymore. Now, despite popular, what's commonly talked about, you can still have guns in your home. It's still in the Constitution that you have a right to guns, but they've made it hard, right? They've made it a hassle because they've made transporting them. And when did this come from? This came from the 90s, early 2000s era, when I think it was President Felipe Calderón was in bed with George Bush. Mexico didn't want the drug war, and George Bush got the corrupt Felipe Calderón to go along with the drug war. They started the drug war, and they were afraid of the people because everyone here had guns, so they started restricting the guns. Now, to be fair, massive amounts of people still have guns. It's not actually like Australia where they all turn them in to have them destroyed, right? The guns are still in people's houses. But it's not the same. You can't just go to the hardware store and buy a gun anymore. And officially, you can get in trouble if you have a gun in your car or something like that. Answer me this, whether it's US, Mexico, England, anywhere in the world, has security improved since any of this? We're going to search your bags. You can't have more than an ounce of liquid. You can't have guns. You can't have knives. You can't say this. You can't go here. You can't enter here. Has anyone at all seen any improvement in security from any of these security rules? Name one. Is anyone safer? Because when you go to a water park, and I've seen them try and pull this in the States too. We just know how to handle it there better, right? We need a search in your bag. No, you don't. You can't assume I'm guilty for something. And this goes back, right? Do people not read? What's the Fourth Amendment? I'm going to read you the Fourth Amendment. It's pretty simple. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. It means no. That's what it means. The Fourth Amendment means you can't touch my things. You can't come into my home. And I know we say, okay, this is for government. A private place can do what they want. No, a private place can't do what they want. I understand, at least in US law, that's not necessarily the same here in Mexico. In US law, the Constitution is a rule for government in general. However, that doesn't mean that a business can violate your rights. So when I go in and say, okay, well, we're going to search your bag. No, you're not. Well, you can't come in. Okay, well, that's dumb. Maybe they have a right to say that as a private business. Everyone should say, screw you, give me my money back. You want to know how fast? The problem is we always let it happen and we say nothing. Oh, stop fighting, honey. And we say nothing. Look what's happened because of that. When did this stuff first start happening? We're going to search your bags. Why? Do you have suspicion that I've committed a crime? Have I stolen? Do you have me on CCTV robbing something from the shelves? Then no, you're not going to search freaking anything. No one is standing up, and this is what pisses me off about people. And everybody talks about the US and God bless America and we're the freest. No, we're not. We're a fascist, stupid, ignorant, lazy nation that's not godlike, that's not Christ-like, that stands up for nothing but our own selfish interests and that abuses the entire world while thinking that we're America. When all of this is America. Like, we're so deluded with nationalism and ignorance that we can't even see what's right in front of us. And it doesn't matter if it's the water park or the theater. No, I remember them trying to do this at movie theaters, right? And I know in certain things, people will be like, no, it's maybe a little easier to fight back on some of that stuff. But at the end of the day, almost everyone just complies. The same, now Mexico has a constitution, right? People love to get on my videos and troll me and say, oh, you're such an idiot. That, the US Constitution doesn't imply Mexico. And I'm like, dude, I'm quoting the Mexican Constitution. Try to keep up. Now, this is something I've, of course, experienced, just like in the US, when I'm dealing with security personnel or police or something here, and I start rattling off the Constitution of Mexico, they are taken aback because they're completely clueless, just like cops in the US. They're just ignorant, just like the employees at this water park are. So let's look at Article 16 of the Mexican Constitution. Now, Mexican constitutional articles are a little longer. I'm not going to read it all. The US Constitution is kind of beautiful in that it's short and simple and sweet because it's so hard to change. But then again, it's basically just ignored by the courts because they're complete criminals. So yeah, like, this is the law, but it's not really the law anymore because it's completely ignored. Virtually every federal government agency is completely illegal if you actually read the Constitution, which takes like 20 minutes. The Mexican Constitution is more like most state constitutions in the US in that it's a lot easier to change, so it gets adapted more and changed around more. That's why the corrupt politicians from the late 90s, early 2000s found an easy path to restrict guns. And sure, there's been activists that fought against that, but in general, people just bow down. And down here, where it tends to be even poorer, people have less time and money to fight, right? You don't go to prison for a year just for punching a cop here. You probably go to jail for 48 hours and then they let you go. But they might beat you up a little on the way. So it's a very different, more Wild West kind of vibe, like you might see in old movies, and the culture is very different. But people are scared here too. And I get being scared, but there's strength in numbers. And you don't have to be scared of the water park. I get that not everybody is fighting everything. But these articles of the Constitution, and I say this all the time, these aren't giving you any rights. You have these rights, yeah. God-given rights, natural rights, whatever you want to call them. These are inalienable. These are rights as humans. The constitutions are just little rule books that we make to affirm those rights. They exist without them. Although most countries, if you don't write them down, inevitably your government will try to screw you over. And even when you do write them down, they'll probably try to screw you over. Okay, now let me just show you something here. This is the Mexican Constitution, Article 16. Now this is a US version from the Constitute Project, I think. I could show you and translate the Spanish version, but I'm just going to let you look at the English version because it's a lot simpler. But obviously this is normally in Spanish. No person shall be disturbed in his private affairs, his, her, family papers, properties, or be invaded at home without a written order from a competent authority duly explaining the legal cause of the proceeding. All people have the right to enjoy protection of his personal data, to access, correct, and cancel such data. You can tell that some of these things were added at a later date, not in the 1800s, right? So as you go through this, only judicial authority can enter an arrest warrant. Such arrest warrant shall always be preceded by formal accusation or charge of misconduct. It goes on, and you can kind of read through this. It's longer, but in some ways it's actually stronger. But you know how it works. The longer an article is in a constitution, the more it gets abused. Now, there's Article 16. Isn't it ironic that the fundamentals are the same as the Fourth Amendment? Oh, sure, I'm sure they looked at the Fourth Amendment when they wrote it, but it's because these are human rights, you guys. And so you might say, oh no, a water park doesn't have to follow the Constitution. Okay, but you don't have to submit and be a slave. And here's the other thing. It's one thing to say you can't bring the bag in, but these guys just wanted to screw with me. How many times have you seen stuff like this wherever you go, right? They were irritated. I poked their ego because I kind of laughed and said, no, you're not doing that. And basically said, hey, calm down. And then I calmed down and said, okay, I'm not going to fight. I'm going to play it cool. I just walked out, and they're like, a-holes, complete a-holes. Went and put the bag back in my vehicle and just came back. We're not letting you in. No, you're out. You're not coming back in. And I'm like, whoa, you can't do that. I paid. So watch the channel, because I'm going to put together the actual video with the evidence and try to do a video soon on this. I'm probably going to do a video in Spanish on this as well, because it's a very popular location and I want this out there. What I'm getting at here, though, is that just because you can say, oh, the 16th Amendment of the Mexican Constitution doesn't apply to searching bags. It does. I've used it many times when they tried to search my car. And I see, especially like young boys down here, teenagers, the cops are always trying to like look through their bags so they can, pester them. And I'm like, no, you don't. You guys, there's a video on this channel where I'm telling them, and my Spanish was terrible in those days. And I'm like, you cannot search the bags. Article DSA is very clear on this. You cannot enter people's personal property papers or things unless you have a warrant and are falling under all those clauses in the Constitution. It's the law. And everybody's like, oh, stop making trouble. I'm not making trouble. They're literally over here violating the law. They're the criminal. Everybody always says I'm a troublemaker. Almost my entire adult life, I've studied the law. Gavin, just follow the rules and stop making trouble. And I'm literally over here in the corner studying the rules and then going out and saying, no, this is the rules. Gavin, stop making trouble. So now I'm following the rules, but I'm still making trouble because I want them to follow the rules. And I'm sick of this. What pisses me off is people aren't standing up. Every time we bow down, I know you got to pick your battles, right? You took all your kids to the water park. You don't want to leave. But you know what you can do? You can say no. But you know what I'm going to do? We're going to go in. We're going to put our bags back in the car since you're trying to screw with our privacy. And you know what we're going to do after we leave and after the kids have fun, buddy? We're going to leave the worst reviews in Google. We're going to tell everybody to never come to this park. And we're going to tell everybody that we know to spread the word and see how you like that. You have to start speaking with your wallets and using your brains. Apply human rights to your life for a change and start defending them. None of this, oh, it's a private business, BS. If a business is screwing with your privacy, your rights, screw them. Stand up for yourself. And I know the bag thing is just an example today because I had an incident, but this applies to everything. It applies to checkpoints. Was the world less safe before we had checkpoints everywhere? No. There was a lot more freedom, a lot more peace. We had more money. We had houses and cars paid off. If you go back to the 50s, 60s, 70s, now I know we can point to civil rights issues and all this stuff and say, no, this was bad, but it still is. We've just put whitewash over everything and lawsuits, and a few people win here and there, but they're still screwing us over. The prisons are still full of poor and minorities and people like Jeff Winehouse that tried to stand up, people like Jim Hamilton, people like Schaefer Cox. It never ends because we keep bowing down. And that was my point today. And that's what pisses me off about people. And I'm sorry if I went on too long. I'm going to end the official part of the show. That's what I have to say. Peace to you all. Keep loving your neighbor and spreading the word. And just think about it. All right, you guys. Okay, marker. Yeah. That was my thought. That was my topic. Now I'll return to the chat. Bear with me a second. I got to wind down. Sometimes after I go through this, because I know my thoughts. I'll tell you the truth, when I stream, this is why I kind of like talking to you guys, because you guys throw things out there. You get me thinking, I get you thinking, I hope, even though we only get 100 views, right? Because the algorithm doesn't want this stuff being talked about. The schools, the governments, they don't want us talking about it. They don't want our kids thinking this way. All right, and it's the same in Mexico. It's different, There's not the stranglehold that exists in the US, but they would like there to be. That's right. Too many people kissing the ring. Stop kissing the freaking ring. Sure, pick your battles, right? You might work in a place where it's like your job and like, oh, we're going to start searching the bags when we enter for security. You can decide to leave, but I understand if you're like, oh, I quit right now, screw you. Like you have a mortgage to pay. I get it. But maybe you should start looking, right? And I understand that there might even be situations where it is a truly high security, where people are actually stealing stuff from secrets or something like that, right? But most of the time, there's almost no case when searching a bag actually improves security. The TSA has never stopped a terrorist. I get like, oh, you want to fly? You have to go through security now. Have I submitted to that a few times? Yeah, because you don't fly otherwise. We let it happen after 9/11 mostly. We let it happen. We caved. We kissed the ring. Now there's no way around it. But I sure as heck don't have to tolerate it at the water park, at the movie theater, or at the local bar. And I'm sure as heck not going to. Just lie down and take it. Appreciate it. Defend your base. The world has indeed gone mad. Bear with me just a second. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. And yeah, I've flown a couple times. And actually flying domestically in Mexico is much more relaxing and laid back. The security it's just private security. They're still going to look at your things though, because they've tried to copy the US. So I'm still going to avoid it, right? I don't want to support companies to do that. Is there a time when maybe you need to fly or you want to go somewhere and there's really no other practical way to do it? Yes, and there's time to pick your battles, but you don't have, we're so accustomed to kissing the ring every freaking time. Yeah, 59 watching, that's really gonna grab the algorithm, all right? Just like the good old days here on the channel, you guys. But anyways, you guys let me know what you thought of the topic. I know this video will get no traction. People wanna see me getting beat up, but I have that video too. I have the video of me getting beat up by private security. But I didn't let them actually win at beating me up because I'm fairly nimble and they're usually not. That's the one thing about cops and security. But always keep that camera running, right? I just recorded a video today. I'll try and throw that out there. It's a very simple video, but it's me talking about the logistics of cars, insurance, getting cars repaired when you're traveling in Mexico, things like that. More of a practical video, but I actually talk about a lot of these nuances of like what to do if you get harassed, things like that. And I think being informed helps, right? If you know your rights. And I think me being informed did help. Even in this incident. The borders of Mexico are different, says Brother. The borders of Mexico are open, like every border should be. You just drive in. So that's how a border should work. There is infrastructure and security there, but as most of the time, they don't even review your things when you come into Mexico. There is like a light that they'll flash. It's supposed to be like random. They have no right to do that. This idea like, oh, it's a border, the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply. That's total BS. Oh, you're not a U.S. citizen, the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply. That's total BS. This was the law 100% that was made for government that they weren't allowed to violate. No exceptions. It's a human right. And I'm so tired of us being like, oh, this is a human right, but no, it's a human right, screw you. And so we shouldn't tolerate this at borders, but that's a ship that sailed a long time ago. And I know as one person, you can't fight with everything. But Mexico has an open border, in general, at least on the U.S. side. So sure, there's stuff there, but once you get out of the stupid U.S. concentration camp, you just drive in. Technically, you're supposed to go and get a visa, but that's not at the border. They don't stop you and say you can't enter unless you have the permit. You drive in a ways, and there's a place that you're supposed to stop and get your paperwork in order. And if you don't, then you don't. Now, theoretically, can the National Guard a year later deport you? Does it happen? Yes. more with people from the South because the U.S. is bribing. The patriots are cheering to stop immigration. It's an invasion. It's an invasion, Millie. Right? So the U.S. government is bribing the Mexican politicians to abuse people coming up from Guatemala and stuff like that. It's still easy to get in. If you go to the Guatemala border, there's not a wall. There's a cow fence. If you come in through the main entrance, they might ask you for something, but you can pay a guy a couple bucks and just cross the river whenever you want. That's what the locals do. They don't get permission to cross the border. On the U.S. side, you just drive in. And so, yeah, it is a very different border than the way the U.S. is, where they treat you like crap even if you're a native citizen. But for the record, Brock, Mexico is America. So I know I sound cranky, but I'm so sick of us, and I did it all my life too, of us saying America, America. We're America. America's the greatest. God bless America. The United States is not America. It's a small little snippet of America. America is this entire continent, North America, South America. And so I just like, when I can always identify with these patriot groups when they're just like racist, ignorant fascists, because they're like, you can't just come into our country if you're not American. And I'm like, bro, you don't even know what an American is. They're American. They're just not from the United States. And the Constitution forbids everything that you say you want to do to immigrants while you're waiving the Constitution for your gun rights. You're an idiot. This is after show. I can say what I want. Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate the kind words, Julian. Yeah, I know. I mean, we've all been through it. I think any of us that stand up for ourselves have been through it. And this is the problem. You pay. Not just defending yourself, but just standing up to bullies. A lot of times what really pisses me off is I know that like it's a problem for me what they do, right? They make trouble for me. It's even more for the guy that has nothing. I'm not a rich person. My business hasn't been great, right? I struggle to pay the bills like everyone else or like 90% of people. But when they got a poor person in their car that barely runs and they're trying to screw them over, I'm like, you know what? Screw you, asshole. I'm sick of people treating each other this way. I'm tired of not just officials, but just people constantly screwing each other over. No one's treating each other like Jesus. I want to take a whip of cords and just start beating people with it, but that probably wouldn't work for me. Well, it'd work if I wanted to get crucified, metaphorically speaking. Yes, getting back into the U.S. is more difficult than coming to Mexico. Because Mexico, everybody's like, oh, you can't have an open border. That would make a security nightmare. No, it wouldn't. That's literally just invented crap. The U.S. border was required to be open. It's like there was no place in the Constitution. A border restriction was not allowed. Immigration authorities were not allowed. All of this stuff started happening after the Civil War and even more in the past 50 years. Like the founding fathers, the ones that weren't fascists, like 20 years in when the federal government tried to make immigrants just register. The border was open, you could come in. You were just supposed to register after being in the country a certain amount of time. They had a hissy fit. They were like, this is fascism. This is not what we fought for. And like, so you have all these patriots like, and we have to protect the borders. You're not protecting the borders. You're turning your country into a prison because you're an ignorant stooge that's kissing the ring. There's literally no immigration restriction for individual people that's legal. It doesn't exist. It's a violation of this Constitution. It's a violation of the Mexican Constitution. People are allowed to come and go as they please. You don't get to say, I think you might be a criminal. I think you're invading. No. You don't get to put words and crap on that. It's not an invasion. It's people traveling, moving freely, and exercising their right. You have zero say whether I don't care. I'm a U.S. citizen. You're a U.S. citizen. And I don't have any I try to have patience. Okay, I have patience. It's difficult for me to have patience for the ignorance anymore. And I know I used to be this way, but once I realized it, I changed. Once I actually studied this, and I'm like, whoa, I remember when this happened. right? I mean, I've been an activist for a while. I was never okay with like, oh, immigrants should be arrested, put in prison, this whole deal of like, we should just like defend the border with guns. Like I knew that was not Christ-like, that was not freedom-minded, even all the way back to my days running for Congress, where it was a super big thing on the conservative patriot movement to like promote this, right? To secure the border. And a lot of us bought into that. But even then, I was like, okay, we need to secure the border, but we need to start treating people fairly. This was a lot of years ago. But then later, I actually started reading the Constitution. I'm like, whoa, where in the Constitution is border control authorized? And then I actually went back to the original congressional debates where they actually said, no, we have no authority over that. We know we can't control who comes into the country. That's not the authority of Congress. And I went back to the immigration clause, not immigration, that doesn't exist. There's no immigration clause. Everybody started quoting the naturalization clause to me. So I went back and found the first copy of the naturalization clause from 1777 or whenever they went and wrote it down, the first one. It was like 3 paragraphs long. It was like the courts have authority over becoming a citizen. Like this, they can make this process that you get to become a citizen. The naturalization clause. And so I'll go to these like constitutional law centers and people that are, even people like Chris Ann Hall. When I started realizing this, I got on the phone with her, and I hope like this was like somebody that when I was kind of awakening on freedom and understanding, like her thing is really just pushing like the Constitution and playing to the political right. And I quickly got beyond that, even though she does have some value over information and she's a good speaker. And I realized, no, it's not about this actually. I don't worship this. I want freedom. I don't worship the Bible, even though I believe. I worship God. I want to act like Christ. Perspective and priorities are important. And I think this was, I don't even remember what year it was, but I remember calling Chris Ann Hall and I said, I have a concern. And I didn't call her to fight with her or anything. I said, like, we're always talking about this immigration stuff, and this isn't in the Constitution that we're teaching. We're always talking about the 10th Amendment, Article 1, Section 8 with the Bundys. People have the rights to their lands, right? And we keep pushing like the party side. And I was hoping that she would be like, we got to look into this. But I quickly realized, with much disappointment in the conversation, that wasn't going to happen. I realized, okay, I'm stepping outside the party. She's staying within it. She's playing to the base. I'm studying history. And there's a very distinct difference. Not that everything she said is wrong. And I remember in this conversation, basically, and I don't want to just like beat up on somebody, right? But basically it came down to, the naturalization clause said the naturalization clause is only for citizenship. It has nothing to do with immigration. And the conversation continued, and I realized very quickly that the Constitution wasn't what was important. That she taught the Constitution, but it was flexible. And that's when I started getting out, when I started speaking on this. Not against Chris Ann. She has some very good presentations. But in general, like against the party, against being Republican, right, left, like this whole like patriot movement, we're completely skewed. We support the Second Amendment. We support the Fourth Amendment when it applies to us. But if it's the other protest group we don't like, screw them, they should be in prison. I'm like, we're way off base. And that's when ultimately people started turning against me as an activist, because I wouldn't side with their party. I just tried my best, to the best of my ability, to side with loving my neighbor and with being honest. And so when I went back into history and realized, and there's people that I've had conversations that argued with me about it and said, no, we have to protect the borders. And I said, you're not talking about protecting the borders, you're talking about fascism. Protecting the borders is if you actually have an invading army coming to attack you, you can defend your town. You can defend your state. All right. Camera battery. Fitz knew it right away. There's a man that's on cameras every day. So yeah. And there's that. Now you know, Fitz. I use aftermarket batteries. Screw you, Sony OEM. Because I'm not paying $80 for a battery that should cost $8. So, yeah, when these 1,000 people are coming up, oh, it's an invasion. No, it's not an invasion. You can't simply make up words because you don't like somebody, because you're a racist, because you're ignorant. You got all these people waiting at the border trying to come up. And a lot of times I'll tell them, look, don't go to the US. Like, it's not actually good. But I'm not going to decide for people based on their troubles, right? There's so much corruption everywhere, and it's whether I wanted to come here, but they want to go there because they're dealing with the corruption here. That's fine. They have that right. And they shouldn't need anyone's permission. They shouldn't need a refugee permit. They should just be able to walk across. And as long as they're not hurting anyone else, they get left alone. Right? That was the whole idea of the United States. Or are we calling it America? I'm in America. I don't care if 100,000 immigrants. When the US was young, thousands of people coming in was normal. I think in 1907, the biggest day at Ellis Island alone was 12,000 people immigrated. By the way, Ellis Island was a complete violation of the Constitution, but it was still very easy. They didn't tolerate this whole waiting list, and you couldn't come in. You had to have special permission. You had to be a refugee. You could still come into Ellis Island, and virtually everyone was just let in without any trouble. But it was still illegal because the government had no legal authority over immigration because that's the law, because that was the point of the Constitution. There were a lot less people in this world. That's just nonsense. From an immigration perspective, were there less people? Okay, fine. It's irrelevant. Security in no place has improved because we built walls. That's North Korea crap. And yet people are like, oh, North Korea is so terrible. Those people over there, I'm so glad we're free. Let's build a wall like them. Like, how dumb can we be? How ignorant can we be? It's unbelievable. And I'm sorry for those of you that haven't come out of this yet. I know it's a haze, a fog, that you've been pummeled with like waving flags and brainwashing and like left is bad, right is good, when they're actually both equally pathetic and corrupt. It's not security. It's a scam. It's fascism. There is no border immigration restriction that is moral, that is legal under the laws of our countries. Not that I can think of anyhow. No one's ever given me an example. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go into Mexico, you drive in, right? And Mexico, people say, oh, well, Mexico's violent. Well, the U.S. is pretty violent right now, too. But yes, Mexico has plenty. But that's directly from the corruption in the drug war. Before the drug war, what you got to realize is most people don't understand this. And a lot of people, it's not even clicking with them now because there's so much ignorance. What you have to realize is that this only has been going on like 30 years. It's 2023. Right around like 2000-ish. Is when the U.S. finally, because they rejected the drug war, the U.S. finally convinced Mexico under Calderon to go the drug war. And ever since then, Mexico has been in a free fall of bad security. So as soon as they said, we're going to stop the drug trade to improve security, ever since that day, security has failed. Doesn't matter what new agency they make, what new program they make, and it's the same everywhere. You don't see the curve quite as drastic in a place like the States, but it's there. You can go back to 9/11. We said we're going to stop terrorists. There's more terrorism on the streets, more violence from the government, from the police, and from actual criminals. More theft. Has security improved? No, it was all crap, you guys. And we fell for it because we're ignorant stooges. And the only way in response, cocaine, really? The only way that we change it, I don't know if we can change it, but in the microcosm, the only way we can change it is things like this, talking about it, saying no, not laying down, right? We can't go out and change everything. We as an individual can't go out and say, no, tear down the border wall. There's no longer border restrictions. They're illegal. You have to have people behind it. You have to have people ceasing to be ignorant. But we can say, screw that water park that wants to search my bag. I'm never going there again. And I'm going to make sure no one else does to the best of my ability. Right? We're not entirely impotent. We can use our brains. And then, like, we need Trump, plain and simple. Come on, man. Like, literally, we're talking about the guy that said regarding guns and the Second Amendment, take the guns first, due process later, right? Now, I recognize that there's the political theater witch hunt for Trump going on right now. But Trump, Biden, Bush, Obama, all criminals, all fascists, absolutely trampling on this. We don't need Trump. We don't need Obama. We don't need Bush. We need none of them. We need people to grow a pair of balls, as Stephen Ruth says. That's what we need. And no, it's not Biden's laws. Again, anytime we're repeating this stuff, like, oh, Obama did this. Oh, this is Biden that's doing this. This is Trump that's doing this. That's the first way. The first way, I'm going to give you a huge tip. The first way to know if you're ignorant is if you're repeating the lines from the party, right? From the factions. This is happening because of Biden policies. No, it's not. It was happening before. It might have got worse from this policy or that in this particular year that we're in. But the crap has been happening. And so as soon as we are repeating that, as soon as that's our argument, instead of, no, screw that, they're all violating our rights. Like, that's how we step out of ignorance, is by stepping out of the party. And aren't Mexican local police cartel henchmen as well? I mean, I suppose it probably depends on where you're at. Mostly they're just corrupt. In the US, the police are the cartel. And here it's a bit more broken up and complicated. All right? So yeah, I'm going to go. I've told you, I go like 45. This has been too long. How long have I been on? 120? No manches. Nah, manches. I go like 45 minutes. Somebody did put a super chat. That's why I went a little long. But I got other things I got to do tonight. I just wanted to throw this out there and tell you a little bit about what's pissing me off. I'm going to cut out that center segment from this. But I'm glad you guys came here and joined me in the chat. We had a good group. Even though there's 50 of us, at least there's 50 of us who are actually using our brains and thinking. Okay? And that's important. That's important. All right, you guys, I'm going to go. Peace out, and we'll see you soon.